Bridie, all my life I always wanted to be an attorney. And this show that we're going to be doing, Heels of Justice, makes me feel like I'm in charge.
I always wanted to be a psychotherapist, but I took the long way. It took me 40 years to get there.
But you made it.
Yes.
You know, working with the incarcerated population makes me feel, I'm so fulfilled because I'm empowering the inmates. I'm giving them the attention that they don't get on a regular. I'm giving them hope. And it's just a good feeling all around to be able to be in their environment for that 1 hour, 3 times a week, and give them hope. Mm-hmm.
And on Heels of Justice, our new program that we will be airing second Monday of each month, stay tuned, we'll be highlighting what goes on inside those walls. So,
I feel so comfortable and so safe. Even when I was working at Rikers Island, I just feel like that's where I belong.
Alicia and I clicked like two sisters from another mother, and it became love at first sight, and we automatically felt a level of comfort that I'd never felt with anyone before. I knew from the moment I met you that it was special. Okay.
We've got COs that are interested in coming on board. We have ex-inmates interested in coming on board, being a guest. We'll have a telephone here. Lines will be open for any call-ins.
Oh, that would be great. That would really be great. Because really what has to happen is there needs to be a change in our system today, in our incarceration system, and in our legal system in general, because from the time and the moment that our young people step out of the house, they're basically in danger of being sort of almost like taken from us.
Welcome to Heels of Justice. I'm your co-host, Alicia Figueras-Lambert.
And I'm Bridie Bugeja.
And we're very excited to have Mr. Joe Maneri with us today, who's a retired New York City police officer. And we have a gentleman from the neighborhood, Mr. Dimitri Christos. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Joe, I heard a lot about your background, but before we get started, please give us a little background as to who you are, where you were, where you are, and where you're going.
Okay. I'm retired NYPD. I got on the job at the end of 1980 after going through the police academy. I worked at the tail end of the Black Panther issue. I went through a lot of ups and mostly downs in the police department. It was a great opportunity. Right now, I'm a real estate investor, and I'm a restaurant consultant, and I love to cook.
Nice, nice. When I read the piece about the Black Panther movement, my uncle used to be in the Black Panther, so that really got my attention. How did that experience affect your work as a cop?
Well, when we came out of the police academy, we came under this fear, or under this umbrella of that the cops are under today, about having to watch your back. Everybody was in pairs. There wasn't anybody working by themselves in the beginning. We were worried about, we had two-man patrols. We had radio cars passing all the patrols because we were targets. We were going to be ambushed. That's the way it was looking at, you know. And luckily, things from there slowed down. But other parts of the job got worse, and some got better. And we went through a whole arc to get where we are today, you know.
So what year are you talking about this?
Between 1980 and let's say 1990, when things started to change.
Things were pretty rough back then.
Very rough, very rough. I mean, things were. I mean, you know, I'm a child from the suburbs. I mean, well, not the suburbs, but back then it was the suburbs. I grew up in Flushing, Queens. Right. Okay, so I mean, I'm the type of guy. I was never in a fight. I was always the class clown, right? So to come out of the police academy and walk into a street and go like, what? What is happening here? You know, and eventually, you know, you think you can't handle it when you first see what you got to do, and then after a while, you know, I'm pretty good at this. I like it, you know, and right now, I mean, I enjoyed the job so much, I'd probably do it a couple of days a week for free.
Wow. That's the first time I've heard something like that. Talk to me about what your impression is of the Blue Shield today as we see it, with the recent violence, the recent shootings of mostly people of color. You want to address that?
When you say Blue Shield, what are you talking? Are you talking about a blue wall of silence?
Correct.
Okay. Well, from my experience on the job, remember, this is not today, this is back, okay? There was nobody on the job that would back you up except police officers, including the bosses. The bosses, you're on your own, okay? So if there wasn't the guy in blue covering you. You're out to dry. Something happens to you, you know, the only person who's going to back you up is your brother. You know, and the racial issues back then, you know, people would talk about, you know, racism in the police department or whatever it was. There wasn't any. Everybody was blue. We didn't see that. I mean, I don't know, you know, people still talk, oh yeah, I saw this, I saw that. Maybe extracurricular activities, or maybe going out on something, but never on the job.
But wasn't it true back then, though, Joe, that most police officers were white? They were not black or Hispanic back in those days.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, majority, the vast majority were white,
right.
And but you know, not so much middle class. I think there were a lot of people that were you know, that came from more modest places than did, as far as they were white. Though they were white, mostly Irish, mostly Italian. But in my class, there were a lot of Hispanic, and I mean, I think a fair amount of African Americans.
So now there's more equality in terms of the distribution of the police officers representing the community.
Well, we've seen from my time to now that a group or a neighborhood that is represented by a specific group predominantly, they tend to deal easier with someone of their own background, whether it be color, ethnics, religion,
yes.
Whatever it may be. They feel it's like a comfort zone. I mean, me now. Now, if I go to Florida and I go into a restaurant and I see an Italian guy, I think I have a better shot than I do if I see a guy that's Chinese. Not only because I don't know, you know, I'm learning. You know.
So you were undercover as well.
I worked most of my career. I worked undercover. I worked in the robbery task force. I worked plainclothes. I did a lot of decoy work. I got mugged a lot of times.
And so, how would you, you know, like Dimitri? Why don't you tell us a little bit? You were discussing a experience that happened to you on your way home from 7-Eleven as a young man, right?
Yeah, it's a easy walk for me from my house to 7-Eleven is maybe 7 minutes, but I would say it was rather late, maybe 11:30, and I'm walking home, and there's a school near the area. And I get stopped by a cop. He's in his patrol car. It's 2 of them. They just pull over, shine a light on me. That's always annoyed me, the light, but it's part of the job, whatever. Mm-hmm. And they, without really asking anything, they asked me to search my bag. And I didn't really understand it. I didn't have anything on me, luckily, at that time, so I was like, sure, whatever, I'm not trying to cause problems. But after the fact, I emptied it. There was nothing in there, just my wallet and some other things. And then they proceed to tell me that they got a call saying that there was somebody dealing drugs at the local school. And I mean, it would have been nice to have that information before, and that maybe would have been a little more comfortable.
Did they tell you that you fit the description of what?
No,
they should.
They didn't even. Yeah.
And how old were you when that happened?
I must have been no older than 16. Yeah, and I was.
Were you scared?
Yeah, I mean, see, that's the thing. Anytime I see a cop on the street, I'm usually scared shitless. Sorry.
It's okay.
I'm usually scared.
Okay.
This is cable.
Yeah. I'm usually scared pretty deeply. I mean, I'm never one to like confront and like say like F the police or something. Mm. At least like to their face. Like I won't do it because it's a bad idea. Yes. Exactly. You want to respect someone.
Sure.
But I've had other incidents where I'm with a group of friends where, you know, respect is supposed to be reciprocated. Mm. And a lot of times you won't get that from the police officer. It'll just be like they're the superior in the situation, and you got to listen to what he says. And
are your friends as respectful as you?
I like to think so. I have one instance where I can say we were being hooligans, to say the least. We were just having some fun at a local field, and they came by. One of the kids was a total just
jerk.
He was a jerk.
Okay.
But we separated ourselves from him immediately because we didn't want to deal with that.
This incident could have been another Trayvon Martin. Had Dimitri made the wrong move, you know, reached for his cell phone to call his mother because he said he's scared, you don't know what could have been the outcome. And me as a black woman, black Latina woman, by the way.
Yeah, I'm not even black. I'm worried about it.
Dig it. So I even get nervous when there's a cop behind me driving. Every time, I don't know if it's my karma, but every time I'm driving, I get pulled over for ridiculous reasons. And
what's a ridiculous reason?
One was my back window was open and there was a scarf hanging out from it. It was, one of my scarves were hanging out
Okay.
the door, rather.
Okay.
So he pulled me over for that. But just, the lights coming on, like you said, being pulled over, it's nerve-wracking. It's very discomforting. And I'm listening to Dimitri. It could have been another Trayvon Martin.
And how do we educate everyone to not be afraid, not to, obviously the police is there to protect us. We want them to protect us because we're reaching for that phone, we're in danger. And we want to change that concept that's out there. And, of course there's always bad apples in any profession. So how do we educate? Do we go into the schools at a young age, introduce the police officers? I work as a therapist, and we actually brought police officers into very young baby toddlers so that the children would understand what police officers were about. How would you suggest?
Well, kids today, not just in police officers, I mean, they're learning by example, okay?
Absolutely.
And the people that are teaching them and the people that they're going home to, their own parents, okay, are not teaching them properly. You can't expect a police officer to be a babysitter, a psychologist, a doctor, a lawyer. That's not it. Okay, that's not what we're supposed to do. Now, in your situation, right now, the way things are today, okay, eyes open, ears open, mouth shut. Okay, and don't be no attitude. You be yes sir, no sir.
Yeah.
And if you feel there's anything that's tipping the scale against you, always ask for a supervisor. They have to oblige.
Is it illegal to videotape the conversation?
I don't think.
It's not illegal, but yet they're told to put the phone away.
Well, they can do it for two reasons. The first time they say that, they could be just being wise asses, okay, because they don't want it filmed. But the thing is, when any of you have anything in your hands, there's something that takes the officer's attention away.
Yes.
Okay, so that can't happen. And he's not, the biggest thing they used to tell us in police academy, I'm going home tonight. Okay,
Yes.
I would rather be tried by 12 than carried by 6.
Yeah.
And that's it. I mean, it's going to happen by accident sometimes. I mean, I worked plainclothes with the first female police officer, New York City police officer, killed in the line of duty, Irma Lozada. I love her. She was a great cop, great girl. 1984, September 25th. I'll never forget it. She was her and her partner were patrolling I think it was the A train in Bed-Stuy, and they split at lunchtime, and she saw a chain snatch, and she chased after the guy to catch him, and when she ran into a vacant lot, he tackled her. They fought for her gun, and he shot her 3 times in the head.
Oh my God.
Okay, and she laid in that lot for 3 hours before anybody found her. Okay, and this was a beautiful, stunning 25-year-old girl, beautiful. I mean, and it was like terrible, and it took us, but the detectives did a great job. We found the guy right away. He's doing life, of course.
Terrible. Joe, you know what I have a big issue with? I know a lot of police officers, and they share a lot of their stories with me, and so many of them talk about the brutality that they initiate. Can you justify that?
When you say initiate, what do you mean?
They start beating
They
up.
start for no reason?
There's
never no reason.
Well, the reason is because the criminal or the perpetrator did something that upset them personally. So they felt it was important to retaliate by beating their ass.
Well, when you say retaliate, did they hit him first? Did they hit the cop first?
No.
Okay.
These are
This is just attitudes?
attitudes and ego.
Okay. Well, I mean, let's start. Let me take this back a second.
Take it back.
Okay. In the police academy and what's going on today, all these things about cops putting hands on people and stuff like that, we were taught this way. And this is the way the youth today and people in general that are being stopped by police officers should handle. If a cop tells you to move, you move. If you don't move, we're going to move you. If we can't move you, you're going to get hurt. That's it. Okay? Because we have no other alternatives there. I mean, I'm not going to talk to this guy for 20 minutes. Look, I told you to move. Now I'm moving you. You're going to put your hands up. You're going to do something to me. We're going to have a problem here.
I have a question regarding mental health in any profession that is of authority. What sort of psychological testing happens with academy trainees that would be able to actually find out whether or not people, men or women, have any sort of emotional disorders, that they may not be able to control their reaction, their anger management? Do they have...
That's
detect
done before.
abusers?
That's done prior to getting on the job. There's a psychological test that comes with the part of the...
But it's not comprehensive.
No, but then there was the medical exam that now includes a psych evaluation.
So are you saying that it has changed over the
Oh,
years?
yes.
Has it become more, how would you say, more conclusive?
Intrusive, maybe.
It's I think it's been learning by example. All the stuff that's happened, I think they're trying to include as much stuff as they can to try to avoid any impropriety or any problems that are going to happen. You can't eliminate everything. You know, there's too much, too many unknowns out there. You know, and
That's true.
I mean, you see people. I mean, a perfect example. I'll give you a story. That's a police captain off duty, watching a football game on Sunday in a bar with a couple of his friends. Right, so watching the game, whatever. Right, the bar was this way, and he was on the one guy was sitting on it, and this is on Franklin Avenue. Okay, guy sitting there. The captain was here, and a couple of his friends were here. Right, 3 guys come in, with guns to rob the place. Right.
Oh, wow.
Captain ducks behind the bar, takes out his gun, and he announces himself as a police officer. The guy who was sitting right there shot him. Okay, the object of that, the learning is that you don't play the game until you know all the players. These are things that cops learn, and it's a shame that somebody had to learn that the hard way.
You know, the media, I love the media. The media often portrays the cops being the bad boy and the cops beating on not innocent, but people who have committed a crime, but for no reason beats them up.
In other words,
Rodney
overreacting.
King, he wasn't resisting. Remember that
All right.
beating?
How to bring that up? Okay. All right. It's funny about that because I was on a job when this happened.
Or what
right?
about Trayvon Martin?
That's a different case.
You have to stand your ground. That's a different story. But with Rodney King, okay, people tell me, you know, what do you think? You know, should Rodney King have went to jail? Should he have got arrested or whatever? And you know, if you show me that videotape, I will tell you, yes, that was 100% wrong. But I could never convict the cops because you can't show me a videotape from where it started to how it got there.
Okay, what about the African gentleman that had the plunger?
No, that's a 40 shots. What's it? Yeah, the what do you call it?
I forgot his
Dimitri,
name.
do you know about that?
The cop that was a cop.
He had a plunger
Yeah,
inserted into his rear.
Yes.
By police officers.
By police officers.
You know.
That's heinous.
That's heinous.
That's
obviously.
that comes under the
Those are
there's a few bad
extreme,
cops. That's
extremes,
ridiculous.
of
That's
course.
ridiculous. No one could justify that.
Yeah.
You know, every single officer that was involved in that thing, they distanced themselves right away. You can't do that. You know. When you tell me like these 5 police officers get arrested for sticking a broomstick up somebody else's, you know what,
Good.
right? I'm like, I mean, really? Come on. I mean, where did people come up with this?
Yeah, that's.
You know,
But it happens very often, Joe.
well, he's suffering in jail right now. I'm sure he's getting beat up at least a couple of times a week.
Which is not the answer either, right?
No, it's
So
not.
at the end of the day, what would you say is the solution, or have you thought about?
If
Dimitri,
I may,
what do you think?
I disagree. I mean, anybody who sticks a plunger up another man's anus deserves prison. That's,
Well, that,
Oh, yeah.
we
That's-
agree.
we agree.
yeah, exactly.
Great.
And that is the answer for them.
That's an extreme situation.
Yeah.
But what we're saying, or what we're talking about, is that how do we solve this issue? Because obviously everybody needs protection.
Well,
obviously
hard
the
to
police
solve. It's not
officers
clear.
are getting a
About
bad rap.
The funny part about it, that was when that happened. I mean, there's an article in the paper like a couple of weeks later when this happened that the police department is going to have sensitivity training. If you need sensitivity training to know that it's wrong to
Yeah.
Something like
large
that.
cumbersome object up somebody else's, you know what? I mean, you're maybe too messed up to be on the police force.
Yeah.
Right.
So do you think it might be a good idea, Dimitri, that we do some maybe like psychological testing? What do you think, Joe? Every
I feel
5 years?
I feel like
or-
they go. You go as a police officer. I don't know if you've ever, if whenever you drew your weapon, if you go through a psych evaluation after that.
Yeah, immediately.
Immediately, right? That's standard.
In 103, we had a friend of mine in 103. By the time the shooting happened, at the time he was in psych eval, it was 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So.
I want to speak on behalf of Suffolk County, Long Island, New York. the NAACP Isoptown branch has initiated legislation to the Suffolk County Police Department to review the psycho evals that are done currently and to enhance them so that there's less brutality and less issues in Suffolk County.
Well, most people are they get their thought process, or what they do is by example. Okay, and I think like back when I was a kid growing up, okay, my father taught me to respect police officers, and I know if there's a problem, find a cop.
Right.
Okay. Right. Nowadays, parents are telling the kids the opposite. You know,
which is a shame because when
I'm
you
going to
need
sue
them,
you. What are you kidding me?
Right.
You know, I mean that you can't. I mean, how do you fight that when the problem is in the household itself?
So what should parents tell their kids? How young should they start? What should they say?
They should teach their children first that a police officer is there to help.
Yeah.
Okay, and a police officer is there to listen to you. And you know, you're going to get a few bad cops, but 99.9% of them are going to be the first one to help you, take you home, whatever's got to be done. They'll make sure if they think there's a problem in that house, they won't let you go in. I mean, there's so many things that are happening today that I think go directly back to the family and directly to the home unit. It's like it's all messed up.
So what would be like a key phrase that a young man being stopped rather than challenging the authority? Because I think a lot of times what happens is there's miscommunication. So what you have is a young person gets stopped. Oh, you know, what did I do, officer? Now he's questioning the officer because we watch a lot of television, we got a lot of information, so we have a lot of knowledge. So rather, would you say it would be best to say exactly what? What would you tell a young man to say? An officer stops a young man, and the young man does not see a reason why he should have been stopped. He felt unjustly stopped.
Understand, first of all, that an argument with a police officer, one-on-one in the street, you'll never win.
Right.
Never happen.
Right.
So there's no sense in even starting that argument. If you realize that you didn't do anything, and you can take the summons if you have to, and go to court. Do what you got to do. Okay? I mean, right now, I mean, if you plead not guilty, you walk away. Right now, my son, I have a son, okay? My son gets pulled over. He gets pulled over for a living, I think. But that's another story, okay? But so he gets pulled over, okay? I tell him, Michael, don't say a word. If you know, good evening, officer, good day, officer, whatever it is, put your hands on the dashboard.
Doesn't he carry daddy's badge?
Yeah, well, yeah, he's got away with it a couple times. And a couple times he forgot he even had it. So I said, you put your hands on the dashboard and you wait for the police officer to get there. Turn your music off, whatever, you know, you don't want to like, because he likes rap, and I'm like, Michael, shut it off. You know, that's all you gotta do is have turn on this, and then F this is coming out, F that. You know? Right. It's a bad
image.
It's a bad image, even if it's not really the image of you. Right. It's the first impression. The cop opens the thing, and first impression is, this is what he got.
But isn't it even worse though, because that a cop is judging a person on the music that they're listening to? I mean, that's kind of ridiculous.
I agree with you, but you've got to go with what's right or wrong, but what's really happening. Yeah. I mean, it's not the right thing, but that's what's going to happen.
And you have two cultures, right? So you have the culture of the youth, and then you have the culture of an elderly person.
Even that's kind of generalizing.
I'm sorry?
I mean, I feel like even just to say old, young is like a weird way to put it, because...
Let me ask you a question, okay? You walk into a room, you have a daughter or a son, no matter what, okay? You walk into a room, the door's closed. You walk into a room, there are two people in the room, your child and someone else.
Yes.
Okay. You walk in, you smell pot, marijuana. Now you know in your head, your daughter, your son, they don't smoke pot. Are you going to blame the other kid, or are you going to think your kid did it?
Well, I mean, what's the issue with marijuana? Is how young is the kid?
If you were in my house, you'd be...
How young are the kids?
Doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point of the matter is that most of the people will say, not my kid. No, my kid would never do it.
That's true.
Right? That's not true. That may not be it. There's two people in the room. I would blame both people.
Yeah, I mean, I would just, if they're both together, I mean, if it's not like a weird situation, I wouldn't, I mean, blame isn't even the word. I would question them both, just be like, what's going on?
Right.
I wouldn't, especially because it isn't my kid, I wouldn't go specifically attacking them.
Reality would say that both kids are going to deny it?
Well, then they can, but then don't leave the house until I find out what's what.
You'll still be there 2 weeks from now.
So
They got to eat sometime.
So what you have is, the ideal situation in one's head, and then what you have is the reality.
Yeah.
And the reality is that you have young people that feel that they are being unlawfully stopped for whatever reason, but at the end of the day, who has the authority? It's like if
Police.
you're in school and you have a teacher, and the teacher says, "You, what are you doing?" Now, do you say to the teacher, "What do you care?" Would you say that to your teacher?
No.
I don't think so. Why wouldn't you say it to your teacher?
Because
Because
it's a
why?
bad look.
Because
It's a bad look, and it makes you look guilty already of doing whatever.
And what is the teacher going to do to you?
Probably grill you more, reprimand you, however the teachers do teacher things.
So you're going to get on the teacher's what? Bad
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 list.
side. So the same thing applies in any position
Yeah.
of authority when you are the individual that is under that authority. Understand where you are in the culture.
Yeah.
In any culture,
Yeah.
in any place. Let's say you go to a different country. You don't know the rules. Maybe you do know the rules, but at the end of the day, there's miscommunication. So your best bet and the best bet of most individuals that are in a situation that is foreign to them is to, as Aretha Franklin says, RESPCT.
That's right.
Respect.
That's right.
You know,
And
understand one-on-one, you'll never win.
Yeah, no,
never
no.
happen. There's no discussion with the cop back and forth. I mean, if he's dead set on giving you the summons, you're getting it. So I mean, me, I don't get any summonses, thank God. But I mean, I'm pretty good with that. But I mean, I always was respectful. I get pulled over to this day. I mean, I apologize, officer, what I do. You know, that's it. It's nice and calm. If he starts being loud to me, I just shut up.
Yeah.
Let him do what he's gonna do it anyway. There's no sense in getting starting an argument.
So Joe, we didn't invite you to beat you up because you're an ex-cop.
I don't think
You
we
could
did.
beat me up.
I don't think we did beat
You
him.
did.
He was actually quite informative.
Yes,
he was
and
amazing.
we appreciate that.
And
You could beat me up
Dimitri, you were amazing
Thank
as
you.
well. And
Thank
I
you.
love the fact that it's very important to have an open dialogue.
That's one of the things that's missing now because I mean
Yes.
everybody's got the cop
Pointing the
is this, the
fingers.
parents are
Yes,
that,
yes.
this person's that. When if everybody talks about what's happening, you know, I mean, like give an example, you know, people, you know, you pull over a car and you wonder why the cops are like this. Sometimes they got a call on the radio of a car matching that description that just robbed a bank.
Yeah.
You don't know that that's what they know. You know, I mean, you gotta give them that little benefit of the doubt because they're putting their lives on the line for you.
Right.
That's
you know,
right.
so.
And that's what Heels of Justice is about. Heels of Justice is about opening communication lines between all people of all cultures from everywhere so that we can resolve the animosity, the anger, the miscommunication, the misunderstanding, because 9 times out of 10, that's what it's all about. It's really about misunderstanding.
When you walk a beat, when you start out and you walk a beat and you start to get to know the neighborhood that you're going to be in, whatever it may be, okay, you got a good cop learns these things fast. Okay, first that's what you got to do to be a good beat cop. Okay, you want to know the things that people do, the times they do them, okay, and what's wrong with this neighborhood, what's wrong with this picture. Okay, I mean, you know a guy that you see a guy jogging 3 o'clock in the morning. You don't know he's a mailman. He leaves at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. You don't know that. These are the things you got to learn, and then eventually you'll notice something that's wrong with this picture.
Right.
And that's almost the whole job of a police officer in a nutshell is playing what's wrong with this picture. Something's wrong here, and I understand about the stuff with racial profiling and all these different things that have come up, but sometimes it's not profiling. It's just something's wrong. This is not right. This shouldn't be this way, and it's not. They're not always right about it, but at least it's something to investigate. You don't know what they're helping or protecting.
But statistically, I mean, you can't argue that. I mean, minorities, black people in particular, get stopped, get arrested for. Let's just bring up the marijuana use. It's double the rate when I mean statistically, white people and black people smoke marijuana, use marijuana at the same rate.
Right.
There are disparities.
But, you know,
right.
when you discuss crimes in minority neighborhoods, okay, or specific, whether it be any kind of national neighborhood, okay. I mean, the reason there are more arrests of minorities is because there's more crime in those minority neighborhoods. Okay, and if you see the statistics, most minority crime, whether it be black on black, Hispanic on Hispanic, that's what it tends to be. That's where the majority is. It's not a white and black issue, a white and Hispanic issue. It's not. It's not. These people are hurting each other.
Yes.
So that's what's got to stop first. You got to start in your own neighborhood. What's the old saying? Clean your own house first.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah. So,
Joe, I want to thank you so much for being here. We could sit here all day and talk about this issue. I know I have a whole lot of questions and concerns, but for another time.
Okay.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
You're
Dimitri,
welcome.
thank you so much for coming out.
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate it. You want to close us on?
So, thank you for joining us at Heels of Justice, and we hope to see you again.
Absolutely.